Alright, what's up everybody? It's Zal here with Geek Paradise Entertainment, and I'm joined by Bashar again. Say hi.
Hello.
And we're back again to talk about the mid-season finales for the Arrowverse TV shows. It's The Flash, Supergirl, DC Legends, and Arrow.
And
So,
sorry for the delay in uploading this video. Thankfully, they have until next month to release the next segments, the next episodes, so it wasn't as urgent, but punctuality was still kind of important.
yeah,
So
we
we'll try and be a better time next time.
yeah, we had some scheduling issues and things that came in the way, but it's okay. We're here now to discuss the mid-season finales with you guys, and yeah, let's just get into it. So,
Okay, so I think we're gonna do this in order as per usual.
yeah, so we'll start with the order that they aired. So Supergirl first.
Mm-hmm.
So what were your overall thoughts about the mid-season finale? So what basically happened? Obviously, we're gonna have spoilers for the whole season and all the shows, everything
Well,
up to this point.
but at this point, if you need the spoiler alert, then I have no idea what you're doing watching this video unless you're incredibly bored.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we don't know. Some people might have not read the title, but
Mm.
anyway. So what had basically happened in the episode was that Samantha's now gone full on Rain, who is someone from an ancient cult on Krypton who was sent off with Supergirl when the planet exploded, but her emergence got delayed conveniently because she had a kid and she was a human. She was like acting as a human for a long time, and she was a good person. We've seen her up so far this season, helping Supergirl and helping Lena Luthor help Supergirl. So
She basically became friends with the person she was destined to destroy, which is kind of the shitty thing about Destiny.
yeah, so now she is the big bad of the season. She has gone full on evil when she last episode went to her version of the Fortress of Solitude after she finds her pod and basically finds out about her destiny. So we see her in the episode kind of like struggle between both sides a bit, like when she's talking to her kid and um but then afterwards in the like after the second half of the episode she just goes full on Rain and beats the shit out of Supergirl.
Yeah,
Like
she
she made her
basically
bleed.
wrecks her shit.
Like she made her bleed and so she made her bleed and then she like drops her in the middle of this crowd of people and everyone can see her bleeding and shit. So it's kind of like symbolic as to like these people are seeing that their supposed god isn't really a god. That there's
Supposed
someone.
hero. I wouldn't go so far as to say God, but
Well, you
yeah.
know what I mean. Yeah, like their savior, their almighty hero, is
Hmm.
someone that can bleed. It's like the
Yeah,
same way.
it was a missed opportunity for what's it called, BVS reference, but
Right.
in retrospect, maybe it was okay to miss that opportunity.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to distance themselves from those movies, and I wouldn't blame them. But, but yeah, that was pretty fucking intense though. The fight was really well done, animation wise, and CG wise, and everything was great. All the special
Hmm.
effects looked really cool, and like
Yeah,
and it was a fair fight. It wasn't like a beatdown for the most part. Like it was kind of fair until like the second half of the fight where she just got destroyed. Supergirl got wrecked
yeah, she got
completely.
destroyed on evil footing, which basically goes to show how dangerous Rain is. And for once, unlike the other two seasons, the threat is very clear and it's very real.
Yeah, and it's something that they actually set up from the beginning of the season. Set up
Yeah.
really, really well from the beginning of the season. Um,
Hmm.
excuse me. But yeah, so what did you think about the episode? And oh yeah, the side plot was with Jimmy Olsen and Lena Luthor
Hmm.
getting together, which is
Finally.
which is
I,
really
I,
funny.
I'd say Lex Luthor is ripping his hair out if he even had any hair to begin with.
He's probably just bashing his head.
He's
Like
bashing his
if he
skull on the
knew,
wall, the poor guy.
if yeah, if he found out, he'd probably just be like, of course he is. Puts me in jail, then hooks up with my sister. Good shit. um, but yeah, so that was an interesting little side plot that was going on. Um, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, what do you think of the episode overall? Like, what were your thoughts about it?
It again, as a Supergirl episode, judging it by the merits of the other episodes, it was a fun watch. It's nice to finally like. Usually, it's around this time that the cliffhanger happens, that the bad guy comes back in some unexpected way and puts the heroes on the ropes.
Right.
So I don't remember it happening in any other Supergirl season. So the fact that it's happening now is a welcome relief. Like it keeps us on our toes until next time. Although I would like some time, actual time before Kara recovers, because if she recovers the first episode, it'll just be like, okay, Rain probably isn't even that strong. Like she
Well,
beat Kara up in a fight, but she's able to rebound the next day. It's annoying.
well, to be fair, they do kind of follow along with the timeline of real life on the shows. So when it
Yeah,
comes
yeah, yeah.
back, it'll be like a month would have passed. So maybe if she comes back recovered next episode, it would be fine still, because it would be a month after
Yeah,
the thing
that's very
happened.
true.
And also,
That's very true.
she's Supergirl. She has extremely fast regeneration, and well,
Yeah,
maybe not like
she's
Wolverine
Kryptonian.
fast, but at least faster than normal humans.
Yeah,
Um,
she's Kryptonian at the end of the day.
exactly. Put her under some red, or sorry, not red, yellow sunlight, and she'll be fine.
Yeah, the wrong sunlight there.
Yeah, just take her on a trip down south somewhere because it's starting to not really look that good outside right now. It's
This
probably
is a
snowing in the
digression.
Arrowverse.
This is a very big digression, but it's a question that I need to ask.
Yeah.
Are Kryptonians capable of being colorblind,
What do you mean?
as in confused colors?
Like
Because
literally colorblind? Oh, I don't know.
yeah, because then if it is a possibility, then it could cause then it could have potential for some serious problems.
They just think it's a yellow sun. They're like, oh yes, basket, it's
Yes,
glory.
exactly, and it turns out to do the exact opposite.
Oh my god, that would be funny. A colorblind Kryptonian. Someone write that comic, please.
Oh God,
But
it would
getting,
suck. It would suck for those guys though.
yeah, that would be awful. But let's get back to the topic. That was funny though. So yeah, but yeah, so it would be a month that would have passed. I feel like she will recover by the time we see her after the season gets back, on the air.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think, obviously, she's not gonna find a way to beat Rain immediately. Um, I don't know what she'll have to do because, like, usually on the Flash, like Barry has to run faster or like learn not to lie to his
For once he,
friends or whatever.
yeah, for once like he can't hear, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Right, right, but like he has to run faster and learn not to lie to his friends, or like Arrow has to also learn not to lie to his friends and
Yeah, a lesson they're
get
not
over some
learning.
physical
Uh,
ailments or whatever. But like, what is Supergirl gonna do? Like, go do some bench presses? Like, what's she gonna do to overcome Rain? Like, what do you think? What do you
there
think will
has to
have to happen before the season
there,
ends for them to overcome this villain?
there has to be a trick involved because see, here's the thing: Rain isn't trained because she wants to be. Rain is trained because she has to be,
Right.
which is something that Rain doesn't want. So
That
there has to be
Samantha
some.
doesn't want. Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be something they can do about it, which I'm not sure what it could be.
Hmm. Well,
Again, there's a trick involved that we haven't seen yet. I have no idea what it could be.
yeah. Maybe it's something to do with what triggers her to go full Rain. Unless that's just something that's like, I mean, if, I feel like she hasn't gone like 100% Rain yet. I feel like she might still revert back to Samantha, especially since people
Yeah,
don't really know who it
yeah,
is.
yeah, but would she remember? Would she remember what she's done? Because if she
Probably
does, then
not.
that's some serious trauma.
Probably not. I don't think she would remember what she did as Rain. Kind of like how um, Caitlin Snow doesn't remember what she does as Killer Frost. I feel like they're kind of trying to do the same type of thing, but in a way that makes sense on Supergirl, because it still doesn't
Mhm.
make any sense why she has a split personality. Why Caitlin Snow has a split personality, it makes no sense that her Frost powers are a split personality. It's like, wait, what? Why would? Yeah, whatever.
Like
It
she
just
remembers, but she doesn't remember, but she still remembers. So it's just like, oh,
yeah, no. I just think it's stupid the whole Killer Frost having a split personality thing because of her powers. But whatever, that's for a different that's a different topic. But
yeah, yeah. Well, let's stick to Supergirl for this one. Again, there's because there's also a lot that needs to be discovered about the people behind Rain in the first place. Like all we know is that there's some kind of cult that worships her as some sort of fallen god, and
Right.
apparently it's not just a myth. It's like something that actually happened, which means we're supposed to be uncovering more history of Krypton and the Kryptonians.
That's cool. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, because it would make sense in the context of the threat that Supergirl is facing,
Right.
and its relation to her. So again, the best way to go approach this is by examining more in a very specific, in more detail, the history of Krypton in relation to Rain and how she factors into the situation. One thing you can also notice as a recurring thing throughout this series of Supergirl is that there's a recurring thing of the past coming to haunt Supergirl long after everything that's happened. In the first season, you had Fort Ross. In the second season, you had the rivalry with the Daxamites. And in
Right.
this season, you have Rain and the whole cult thing.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting to see what they end up discovering about this cult and the history of Krypton, because there has to be something in that history that'll help them fight and defeat Rain. Maybe it's
Hmm.
some kind of, um, maybe she has her own kryptonite, maybe something like that that they can use. Maybe it's like she has a weakness of some kind that they haven't found out about, or some way to turn off the connection between Samantha and Rain. Make her just be, normal Samantha, or just something like that. But
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that Kara is not gonna be very happy with the whole revelation that Rain is the one is Samantha. I'm pretty sure she's gonna take it very badly because she already has to deal with enough quote unquote betrayals.
true, but in this case, it's not really her fault. It's not like
Yeah, I
something that
know.
she did on purpose, where she has some kind of vendetta against Supergirl. Like on the opposite, I feel like if she had a say in it, she would be helping Supergirl to stop Rain. If like Rain was a different character and wasn't her,
Mhm.
she would be trying to help Supergirl against her. So yeah, I feel like maybe she's gonna have some kind of inner conflict that she's gonna win by the end of the season, where she herself, you know, gets control of her split personality and like figures out how to stop Rain, and it's not Supergirl, it's actually Samantha who ends up saving the day or something like that. That would be a nice little twist. Or like with the help of
Mhm.
Supergirl and friends, she figures out something. I don't know. That would be cool. But we could
Yeah, like
sit here,
I'm interested in seeing how they discuss the whole Krypton history that I was telling you about.
right? But we can sit here and speculate forever. But right now, this is what we know, and hopefully, the pacing of the season hopefully stays good like it's been so far. I think it's been good,
Hmm.
but yeah, the first half of the season definitely like I enjoyed it. Definitely, definitely loved it so far. Way better than season 1 and 2. Way better.
Yeah, yeah. Season one was not good. Season two was even less not good.
Garbage, pure garbage. But yeah, good thing the season's going well so far, and I'm excited to see where they take it from here. But moving on, unless you have anything else to add for the
So
discussion of
far,
Supergirl.
no.
All right, so let's move on to uh, the Flash. This was the most interesting episode to me personally, because I wanted to see like how does Barry get captured? How does he deal with it? What's the plan of DeVoe? Because we had
Yeah,
discussed
and
the possible plan of him trying to put his consciousness into Barry, so that he can he can have the fastest mind and pretty much the fastest and possibly the strongest body that he knows of right now.
Mhm.
Um, because there's no Superman on Earth One, so he's pretty much the fastest and most powerful being on Earth One. Um,
but he's not
because
Superman yet.
well, yet, yeah, and of course it's because like his body's deteriorating, so he needs to like find some way to preserve his own life. So he like we thought he was gonna kidnap Barry and actually try to or succeed in putting his consciousness in Barry this episode, but what ended up happening is that he put his consciousness into
Someone else.
someone else. He was so unimportant, I don't even remember the kid's name. Um,
I have a question. If DeVoe is putting his consciousness into somebody, what happens to the old consciousness of whatever body he's taking?
It gets erased.
It
He
gets
probably
erased,
just
gone,
overwrites
destroyed
it.
for good.
Yeah, probably overwrites it. He damns
Okay.
their soul forever. I don't know, but that's
Yeah.
kind of fucked up. Or maybe he switched consciousness and then, you know, he just
I'm
died.
getting all this talk about consciousness is giving me some serious Westworld vibes.
Shh, I still need to watch that.
Yeah, well, it's quite the watch. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm excited. People have been saying it's really good. But
Hmm.
yeah, in the Flash, I feel like, yeah, I feel like they switched consciousness, and then of course, we see that his body has been stabbed. Like DeVoe's original body's been stabbed and killed and planted in Barry's apartment, which ends up getting him imprisoned. So he probably just
Yeah, he
switched
gets framed.
consciousness and then just stabs him because like his body was deteriorating anyway. It's not like he could defend himself. Um,
Hmm.
that would
That
make
was the whole
more
point.
sense.
The frame up, basically. That was the whole idea.
Yeah, the whole idea was to switch bodies and then have the old body used to frame Barry Allen, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, but if they spend if they again like my similar complaint to the potential complaint to the Supergirl is that if they take one episode to resolve that issue, then it's gonna be very anticlimactic.
Oh, there's no way. No, no, I think the new body that he's in, that's gonna be his body for a while because this he gets the meta powers that this kid had, which was telekinesis or um like telepathy. Like he could read people's minds and put thoughts in their minds and all of that. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like he's kind of like in a body like like Professor Xavier, like one of the most powerful mutants in the X-Men universe. So that's a pretty big deal. Someone with the powers of the Thinker in a body of a telepath. So
Yeah, that's quite the upgrade.
yeah, so he's probably gonna use his telepathy powers to like um like put thoughts in people's minds and use that to like manipulate people easier. Obviously that's something that he likes doing, is manipulating people. We've seen
Hmm.
so far. So like what's the plan then with the rest of the bus metas or all the bus metas so far? Is he trying to like strengthen Barry to the point where like if he can overcome and beat all these metas, then his body would be like worthy for him to take over, or it'll be like seasoned enough so where he'll take over his body or something like that? Like what do you think is the whole point of this?
I think the whole bus meta stuff is like you said. It's in a way it's pretty much a test for increasing Barry's powers further. That way, DeVoe can end up with the best body. And at the same time, they're also just a tool for Clifford's agenda. I mean, like at this point, I don't think he. I think his displays of empathy have been scant at best. The only instance I can see of like actual empathy is when it's like, let's just let these guys have their wedding, and even then, it would make sense because it factors into it would factor into his overall plan of just screwing with Barry in some way. Like, if you look at it, both the Flash and the Arrow this season have this thing of trying to split the team in a way. For example, when in the Arrow thing, it's kind of obvious.
Right.
We'll get to that when we get to that. But in
Yeah.
Barry's case, there was two cases. One which was resolved in a positive way, and the other one which went along a bit negatively until it got resolved in a positive way too. But it was set the seeds for the next thing that I'm about to say. The positive way was when in this episode, Iris had to make a choice between Caitlin and Barry, and she doesn't know, it was hard for her to take that decision for a while.
Right.
Okay,
Because they couldn't
but
they couldn't have enough like resources to look for both, because both went missing
mm,
in this episode. The side
yeah,
plot was Caitlyn getting kidnapped by Aminat Black to operate on the meta that ended up being DeVoe's new body.
yeah, which I would not say is a coincidence, by the way. I'm pretty sure there was a plot behind this, but
Well, yeah, she
whatever.
was hired by DeVoe to get the kid's body to him.
Yeah, yeah, but there's also the second thing. The negative thing was earlier in the season when Barry went to what's it called, DeVoe's house, and got busted for it, and the team was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I think this will set the seeds for some of the team to be very distrustful of Barry after he goes to
Oh.
prison, very clearly having quote unquote murdered DeVoe.
Do you think the team is gonna question Barry on this? Because I thought, in my opinion, I don't think they would question him. I think they, since they all know that DeVoe is the villain and that Barry was kidnapped, and was with them at the party. Because remember, he was with them for a Christmas party, got a security alert, had to leave, and then that's when
Possibly.
he was caught. So I don't think, I feel like the team knows that he has an alibi, and from the previews it seems like they are on his side. But it would be interesting if maybe like someone on the team questioned him, like, or maybe like they start getting manipulated by DeVoe and his new abilities to implant thoughts in their head of doubt in Barry, or like something that
Yeah, yeah,
makes
yeah.
them like turn against him. That would be interesting. I like that. I like where you're going with that. That would be interesting, but I don't think, man, I don't know if Barry can handle that right now.
Yeah, yeah, I think he's got enough on his plate.
Yeah. That would be crazy though, because that would be a good use of his powers to like kind of implant in people's minds like this thought of like, yeah, he's the one responsible for it, not just the people persecuting him, but also his own friends. That's really cool. I like that. We'll
Yeah,
see
well,
if they end
again,
up
we'll see if this has any merit.
right. We'll see if they end up going with something like that, or what they end up doing with his powers. But besides that, I feel like it set up the rest of the season pretty well too, like Supergirl, where it showed that our villain is formidable, and it's not gonna be something that they're gonna easily resolve or easily,
Thing is, the villains in Flash were always quite intimidating, anyways.
Well, yeah, but their intimidation was they're faster than Barry. It was like, oh, okay. But now
Yeah,
it's like someone who actually like
like
outsmarts
who
him,
isn't
and
a speedster,
yeah,
but is capable of playing with everybody.
right. He has the capability to outsmart Barry to like, and now he has his mental powers, which is gonna put him on a whole new stage. It's kind of like Gorilla Grodd, but like maybe it's different in a way. Maybe he will be better at using those powers than someone like Gorilla Grodd. Maybe it won't be like the
Yeah.
simple. Maybe the device they make won't be just something simple like they have for Gorilla Grodd. I also saw
Mm.
theories, and it was from something that I saw in the episode too, from DeVoe's wife, her reaction when he was in the new body, and like they end up like kissing at the end, which is kind of weird because it's not her husband's body, but it's his consciousness, so like whatever. But like there was like her moment of hesitation,
Mhm.
which it's pretty fair because her husband's in a new body, she's not used to it. But then it could
Yeah,
also
but
like, you could interpret it as something like maybe she's starting to see that, okay, maybe my husband's gone a little bit too far, maybe he is, maybe his plan is going too far, like maybe like he's gonna keep going further to the point where this isn't something that I'm okay with anymore, because she was trying to help him from the beginning with his age of enlightenment.
I wouldn't say that because she was complicit in like framing Barry twice.
Right, but like, which is fine now because like she's on board with his plans. I'm not saying it'll be anything in the next 2 or 3 episodes. I'm saying like maybe by, and not just me. I'm not taking any credit for this theory, but like people are saying like maybe like by the end of the season, he does so much more fucked up shit that she's like, you know what, this is not what I signed up for. I'm out. Not
Yeah,
to
but
his
what could he
face.
Yeah, but what could he possibly do that would drive his own wife against him at this point? Because again, his wife was helping him the whole time, and she did some uncool shit too.
Well, yeah, but he could use his mental powers in like really manipulative ways that like hurt innocent people, or, you know, I don't know. Maybe she gets to a point where she can't stand him killing or hurting innocent people anymore, or like he starts doing that more on like a larger scale.
But wasn't she okay with that in the first place, anyways?
No, they weren't really killing innocent people. Not really. They were just manipulating these metahumans and Barry and stuff. They didn't really kill anybody innocent besides, the telepath. They killed his consciousness, but like that was so he can survive. So she was like okay with that. But I'm saying like, maybe he like just
Okay.
pushes it to a certain extreme. I mean, that's just what the theory was saying. He like pushes it to a certain extreme where like she ends up defecting and helping Barry
Yeah,
and them create.
you need to give those theory crafters credit, by the way. At least say, okay, I saw this theory by this guy. Shout outs to him. Check his videos and stuff like that.
Oh no, it was just some stuff I saw randomly online. It wasn't like it was someone who said this is someone else's theory too. So like they didn't even give him credit, but
Oh, okay, in that case,
yeah,
then never mind.
right, right. No, if I knew who it was, I would have said the name, um, but yeah, basically like she would get to a point where she can't handle it anymore, switches sides and helps Barry and them create that cerebral inhibitor that future Savitar Barry was talking about.
Mm.
Because I feel like if it's something that they knew how to make, they would make it pretty soon. But I feel like
Mm.
it's something that since she knows his powers more than they do and everything, that she's gonna be the one who's gonna help them make it. Maybe. Because that would be
Yeah.
pretty cool if like by the end of the season she ends up like actually helping Team Flash and being like, nah man, gone too far, can't help you with your shit anymore.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, that's just a theory that was floating out there. Um, besides that, I'm really excited for the rest of the season, see how they take it, and if he takes over any more bodies before trying to take over Barry's, if he does. But what do you, do you have any more thoughts or anything you want to talk about with this episode? How do you, anything you want to add to it?
Other than that, no. I think we covered the main stuff. Basically, that Barry's in serious trouble, and how are they gonna get out of it?
Alright, yep, that's basically it. So, talking about Legends now. So let's move on to Legends of Tomorrow.
Yep.
Pretty interesting episode.
Yeah, it wasn't as dark as the other episodes. Let's be real.
Yeah, very light-hearted, coming off from a very dark
Very
crossover
dark
episode.
spot, yeah.
Very dark crossover episode with the death of Martin Stein.
Rest in peace. Thoughts and
Yep.
prayers.
Rest in peace. Hashtag thoughts and prayers. Uh, so, but it was.
Also, before
yeah,
we
sorry.
continue, apparently I was mistaken the last video by saying that Daddy Darkus, which was the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow, was gonna be in the week afterwards. I was
Yeah.
mistaken. I apologize for that. And it's actually really infuriating because not
Yep.
only is it not going to be the week after, it's going to be the month after all the other episodes are out,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
which is quite
I
quite
saw
the
that.
pisser.
Yep, I saw that and I was really fucking pissed. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
wait,
quite the pisser.
you told me it was next week.
I'm sorry, I goofed.
You done goofed.
Yes, I did.
No, it's okay, man. I saw that too. I saw the news about them switching schedules because of Black Lightning and all this other stuff, and I'm like, come on, man. Like, I'm excited for
Yeah,
the
I
new
mean, like,
shows, but now I already dislike the show because it's taking up the spot of something I really want to continue watching. It's like, come on. It's not a good first impression.
Especially considering who ends up joining them at the end of the episode.
Fucking seriously, man. Like, one of my favorite characters from the Arrowverse returns. We're speaking of Constantine, of course. Comes
John
back.
Constantine.
John Constantine comes back, and that's the cliffhanger for this episode. Because, of course, like, by the end of it, so, this episode, they do the whole Vikings thing, and they have, like, this, like, stuffed animal called Bebo from Martin Stein's time when he was a young adult. That's, like, a hot Christmas toy, and like it gets transported to the Vikings era with Martin Stein, and he, convinces them
Everybody
it's a
thinks
god
he-
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, like Damien Dark joins them up, and they find, they figure out a plan to kick his ass, and I think they kill or incapacitate
No,
his daughter.
they're probably incapacitated at all.
Yeah, Ray or wait, who was it that did that? Was it Ray?
I have no clue.
Okay,
I'll be
well, I'll
very
just cut
honest.
that out. So the team incapacitates Damien Dark's daughter, and while they're trying to escape, Sarah Lance holds on to them and gets transported to this dark dimension-looking place, and and then Mollis talks to her. But before, apparently he could reach out and like touch her or like attack her or something. She gets yanked back out somehow by the Time Bureau lady. So of course, by the end of this, there's more magic going on and stuff, so that's why John Constantine ends up joining, but also because Jax leaves because of his whole thing with Martin Stein. He says if he stays on the ship, he can't cope with it, And throughout this episode, since we were dealing with young Martin Stein, he was fighting the decision to tell him or not tell him about his death, and he had a note he gave him that he was supposed to open on like the day of his death in 2017, and he burned it, so the future didn't change, and he was still dead. So he kept trying to like find loopholes and shit, like they did with Helen of Troy, but obviously because the actor is leaving the show, they weren't gonna let that happen on the show. They were trying to
Yeah, but they did it in a clever way, you know.
right, yeah, and yeah, exactly. So they didn't do it by like flat out showing that he doesn't try anything, because that would have been weird if he didn't try anything. But at the same time, they had him try his options, and they failed in a way that did make sense because of the character of Martin Stein. Like his younger self said, he understands what his older self is doing with the legends, to the point where he knows that even changing his own destiny is fucking with the timeline, which is bad. So
Mm-hmm.
even avoiding his own death was something that he was willing to give up on. He was
Yeah.
willing to die for the timeline to stay how it's supposed to be, which is pretty noble of him, and helped Jax kind of get over the death in some way, even though he couldn't get over it to the point where he could stay on the Wave Rider, which is also because the character.
Understandable.
Yeah, it's also because the actor is leaving the show, but they brought in John Constantine at the end of the episode to kind of replace Jax temporarily. Not sure if it's going to be permanent or not.
I hope it
Oh,
is, because
yeah,
that
fingers
could add
crossed.
it could add some interesting dimensions to the show in terms of the stuff that they could be facing. Like more magical stuff is always a plus.
Right, and it's good to fight fire with fire. Like they're gonna fight magic.
Yeah,
They
but
need magic.
if you remember Arrow season 4, when Constantine was brought back from the NBC show, they John does mention Damien Dark with a hint of fear, so it could be a very serious implication that Damien Dark is gonna be quite the match for John.
Well, of course they're not gonna make him more powerful than the villain, because he could just come in, poof, one shot him and leave, and then the
Yeah.
season's over. So it's good that they at least before, I actually forgot about that they at least established before in the timeline of the Arrowverse that John Constantine is not as powerful as Damien Dark, or is at least intimidated by him. Not sure,
Yeah,
not confirmed.
they did do that, and Arrow.
That's good. Yeah, I actually completely forgot about that. So it's good that they at least established that he intimidates Constantine. So it's not like having Current Barry come in and help them last season with Reverse Flash, because Current Barry would shit on last season's Reverse Flash of Legends. So that would be OP.
Yeah.
So that's good. I like that they've done that. So maybe they will bring him on, because I heard that and this is the advantage of us doing this kind of late, is we've heard some post mid-season finale news that we get to talk
Mhm.
about. I heard that they're gonna replace Firestorm, Jax and Stein, with someone that is already established in the Arrowverse. So they're not bringing in a new character like, Bart Allen, or whatever people had in mind, like Blue Beetle or anything like that. Like they're gonna
Yeah,
have it be
Blue Beetle
someone.
apparently DC already has plans for Blue Beetle. He was supposed to be in season 3 of Arrow, but because there was already plans for Blue Beetle from before, they ended up bringing in Ray Palmer, aka the Atom, instead.
I did hear about that too. That was pretty cool. I would have liked them to bring in Blue Beetle. Actually, he's a really cool character. I like him a lot. But maybe
Yeah,
maybe
but
eventually.
I have no idea what his powers are, to be honest.
Well, he
Sorry to
has
any.
he has like an ancient scarab thing that like attaches to his body, that gives him basically like an armor, like an Iron Man suit, that's kind of like permanently attached to him, and if he takes it off, he dies. But it's like this beetle, and it gives him this armor power, and it kind of just has like the powers of Iron Man plus a beetle. If you can imagine that, like spiky, hands that like transform, like his armor can like transform, so his weapons can like change based on the situation and stuff. If he needs a big heavy weapon, he can change his arm into a big heavy weapon. If he needs a knife, he can change his arm to a knife. He has
Oh
like
wow!
boosters
So
and
it's
shit.
so it's like transformative armor.
Yeah. Actually, Blue Beetle's really fucking cool. He was in Young Justice. Um, if you watch that. But anyway, not to divert too much from the topic. I think if it's not John Constantine that they're gonna keep as the new member of the Legends, it might be Wally West, because they have no idea what they're doing with him on the Flash, as they've shown us this season so far, which has been one of the big glaring issues with the Flash this season, is that like Wally,
they took the whole too many speedsters complaint to heart by the looks of it. They
yeah,
got
like
rid of Jesse quick. They got well, to be fair, Violet Bean had other stuff, but still,
right,
they got Wally isn't even showing up.
they keep making him disappear for all the fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, does have his own kind of fun off screen. I mean, like
Well, yeah,
he does end up squabbling with fucking Starro of all people.
exactly, but it's not fun for us because we don't see it.
That's true.
But you know what I mean, like he keeps like leaving whenever something happens on the Flash where he would be a huge help. Like this last episode, he would have been off finding Barry, or could have sped off to find Killer Frost, and then keep that meta-human safe, and then thwart the plans of what's his name, DeVoe, and then find Barry somehow. But anyway, yeah, I feel like he would be a good fit on Legends, but again, his powers are really OP, so they're gonna have to find a way to like nerf him or make the villains even more powerful. But then they'll make the rest of the team pretty much useless. Like if he's on the team,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
he's a god. Like he's like a god amongst men. Like literally, like everyone else on the team is like pretty fucking useless compared to a speedster. Even Nate, who actually has powers, and Ray Palmer, who has a cooler suit now. But
Steel has powers. Zari and what's her name have the Amaya have their
Amaya.
what's it called?
the amulet,
Have their amulets.
right? But other than that, it's like an assassin, Sarah Lance, and like
Yeah, but it's supposed to be a ragtag group of misfits.
Right.
That's what made the show what it was. So
Exactly.
having Wally, who's not a misfit, well, he was a misfit when he started, but he stopped being one. It's kind of redundant, you know.
Right, but even more than that, like his powers are far beyond anyone else on the team. Like he would be able to help them with most of their problems pretty easily. Unless they do the same thing they do with Barry and forget that he has certain powers at certain points, but whatever.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to complain about in the Flash, before we move on, is so DeVoe's whole plan with kidnapping Barry, and then um Barry escaping, and then making him think that he died or something. So what happened was like like Barry like tried to attack him, and then he like teleported them into the middle of the sky, and they were like flying over the city, over the river. And then he used his Dr. Octopus arms to try and like Barry was on his back. He used them to like try and attack him, but Barry phased through them, and he attacked himself and blew up the chair and fell into the water. And that was apparently part of his plan, because later, the next scene, he was perfectly fine. They captured the metahuman, the telepath metahuman, and they switched consciousness. But how the hell did DeVoe survive doing something like that? Like that's something that they didn't even try to explain on the show, or even show it in a believable way. Like the chair explodes and falls into the river,
And he's in the chair.
and he's in the chair with his decrepit body. Like he hasn't. It's not something where it's a time remnant, or fucking he made a clone of himself, or it's a projection. Like no, Barry was physically holding on to this, to the chair, and before that he was physically holding on to DeVoe when they were still in his lair before he got teleported. So it just blows my mind that they want us to believe that this old decrepit man who can't even tie his shoes without the power of his chair, that his chair blew up, he's in the water, and he somehow
nothing
makes it,
happened to him.
and nothing happens to him, and he just makes it out alive, perfectly fine. Like he should have died. Like that should have been his death right there. As soon as the chair blew up, he would have had minimal life left, and like his body would have been like basically crippled again. Now he's in the water with this huge chair like strapped to him, like he's dead. And his head is like scalped off, so like there's water going inside his skull. This man is dead. How the fuck does he end up not dying in that scene? Like That's even worse than Barry losing his speed for no reason and getting hit by normal ass people. Or not losing his speed, but like forgetting he has super speed and getting hit by normal ass people. Like that's even worse than that. Like how did they expect us to believe that that was something that happens? Like what did you think when you saw that? Are you confused too, or do you just
About the whole Devoe defying death thing, I really wasn't thinking about it. It was just like,
really? Because
whatever.
that bothered the fuck out of me. As soon as I saw it happen in the episode, I couldn't stop thinking about it for the rest of the episode. I'm like, wait, what happened? I'm like, so are they gonna explain that that was a hologram in the chair, or are they gonna do anything to cover that up? No? Okay, cool.
Okay, moving on.
They're just gonna pretend that this man has superpowers now. Or even normal human powers because he was crippled. What? Okay, show, whatever. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to bring that up. If you guys in the comments saw or heard of anything that explains that scene that I might have missed or we might have missed, like please let us know because I have no clue why or how they're trying to justify that bullshit. But moving on, do you have anything to discuss about Legends of Tomorrow before we finish off with Arrow?
I just want to comment how we were talking about the Legends of Tomorrow and somehow we ended up complaining about Devoe. I just realized this right now and it's
Yeah.
kind of... Apparently it was that bad, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, we started talking about Wally and then the Flash got back on my mind and I remembered that.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, if we don't have anything else to say about the plot, um, about Legends of Tomorrow, I thought the episode was pretty tame. Like the plot was like pretty good with the whole Viking stuff. It was pretty
I
funny.
think yeah, it was a breather compared to the last one, and I think it's setting up the whole John Constantine thing.
Yeah, hopefully he's a bigger part of the second half of the season, not just 2 episodes. I'm excited to see what else they do with Damien, what actually happened to his daughter, because they were implying she died, but I don't think she died. She's probably just really badly hurt. But they just
Yeah,
implied they were heavily implying that she's dead. Um,
yeah, but they're not gonna get rid of one of those villains so quickly.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna say that CW doesn't kill people because obviously they just killed Martin Stein, but I don't think they would kill one of the main villains this early, especially since we've barely gotten anything from her except for that one episode. Um, but the one where she contacted Zaya's brother
Mm.
from like beyond the grave and shit. But I'm really really excited to see what that dark dimension was that Sarah Lance was thrown into and what Mollis is and like what his whole plan is and what the fuck is going on because that was really cool. Like that
Yeah,
was
I'm guessing he's some kind of imprisoned god that just wants to fuck shit up.
maybe yeah
Because like
some
that's all I can glean from a guy who calls himself Malus. Like I
right
already said last time what it translates to from Latin, and the fact that he completely stopped caring.
right.
Clearly, I mean, like he's not trying to be a nice guy. He's just like, I want to kill everything just because it's in my name.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to see like what his origins are and what he has to do with that weird dimension that she was in. But
It's probably where he was from. Soon I will be free.
right.
It's one of those things.
And how did Time Bureau lady like just pull her out of there? Like that was like also something that was weird that wasn't really explained. But doesn't matter. If we dwell on stuff like this too long, we'll never move on.
Yeah, I'm guessing they'll clarify it at some point.
I hope so. But so moving on to the last mid-season finale that we saw, that was probably the most underwhelming, I would say.
Absolutely.
It wasn't bad, but compared to the other
I would probably
cliffhangers,
say it was bad. I would probably say it was bad.
oh damn, okay. Compared to the other ones, it wasn't really a huge cliffhanger or like something major happened. It was something that was kind of annoying, to be honest. It was something. So basically, like for some reason Oliver still thinks it's okay to lie to your teammates and not trust them even when some weird information
Eh,
comes up. So like the first
Just
15 minutes.
Oliver? Just Oliver? Literally everybody's doing it this season.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. But I mean like Oliver's been doing this for 6 seasons and for 6 seasons or like 5 and for all the seasons he knows It's not good. He knows it doesn't do anything but cause tension in the team for no reason that they end up resolving by saying we'll never lie to each other again, then lie to each other the next episode. It's
Exactly.
like, what's the point
It
of
reminds
this?
me. It reminds me of Rick. No worry, no more lies. Not promise to keep my word. Something just happened. I have no idea what you're talking about. I forgot exactly what happened, but you get my point.
Right. Yeah, it's just like it's just annoying to see them like not develop in that point still. Even if the circumstances are different, they should still have the sense to like, okay, it might be, some false information someone's giving us. Like they didn't even consider that, They were like, this is 100% legit, which I mean it was, but they didn't even consider like, oh, maybe someone has a problem with something, we need to address it and talk about whatever's bothering this teammates, why are they trying to do this? They're like, no, let's spy on everyone, let's fucking treat them like dog shit, like, they're not our team anymore, everyone's our enemy. It's like, no, dude, like that's what gets you in trouble every time. And that's not even the worst part of the episode. The worst part of the episode was the first 15 fucking minutes of it. Of that stupid wedding. And it's like, again, like it was kind of weird that, like in the crossover from the beginning of it, like Felicity's like, I don't want to marry you, and to Oliver, and then by the end of the crossover, which is like 4 episodes later, like a couple of days in their time, she was like, Barry and Iris were getting officially married by Diggle, and then she just butts in like, oh, I want to marry Oliver now too, and it's like, okay,
The wedding, honestly, like the wedding just cemented for me that Curtis is probably the most cringy character in the whole
oh
Arrowverse.
my god, man,
And the fact that this is intentional, and the fact that Echo Kellis has to stand there and fucking say this shit is something that is really not a point in Arrow's favor at this moment. It's really not.
that was just
I mean, like,
so uncalled for, just out of nowhere. He just starts complaining, and I'm like, okay, dude.
this is shoddy writing at best, and
Yeah,
they know it.
yeah. The writing for the whole wedding part was awful. I didn't like it.
Yeah, well to be frank, the writing for Arrow has been subpar compared to most of the other shows at this point.
I feel like it's really good at a lot of points. It's just like it has some specific points in the episodes, and some pieces of dialogue are just like really weak compared to others. But I feel like overall, like they're better than most. But yeah, this episode was just bad. Like this episode, the first part
Was
of it was
yeah.
like the writing in this episode was bad. The motivations, everyone's thoughts, everyone's character actions and behaviors were just
The whole
stupid.
episode, in the whole episode, it was pure arbitrariness. I mean, I have
Yeah,
no idea why they insist on not learning their lessons. This is, there's a famous quote that's, it's a lot of people attribute it to Einstein, but I think it's not. It's like insanity is doing the same thing again and again, expecting
right,
different results. I wouldn't call that insanity. I would call it stupidity. Okay, because here's the thing: there's a difference in the way I look at things. There's a difference between ignorance and stupidity. Okay, ignorance can be forgiven. Okay, because you don't know, right? If
right,
I don't know that shoving a fork into an electric socket is going to electrocute me, okay, it's ignorance. Like I should have known, but the fact that I didn't means I could be informed about it and learn for next time.
right,
If I know it's going to electrocute me and possibly kill me and I still do it, that's stupidity.
right.
Doing the wrong thing even though you know it's wrong, doing
It's
the harmful
stupid,
thing even though you know it's harmful, is an exercise in stupidity, and it's basically Team Arrow in a nutshell at this point.
basically. Yeah, I mean, like just the wedding aside, with how stupid all of that stuff was from the
Like,
crossover coming into this episode, just the way that they acted the whole time was like, okay, you found out someone on your team is going to testify against you. Why not gather the team, share this information? You know,
and try and figure out who it is.
yeah,
And
and
why
not
doesn't the person who's testifying, spoiler alert, it's Renee, say
right,
this in the first place? Why doesn't he tell them?
right. I mean, I understand his reason for doing it. Like he thought that, okay,
I
Oliver's going
understand that,
down
yeah, you can,
anyway. I'm looking out for my kid. This is in my best interest. But at the same time, it was shitty that he did it behind his back. It was betrayal. But he could have just gone to Oliver and been like, look, they're giving me this deal. They're asking me to do this or I won't see my daughter. Like, you know, I wanted to tell you because they want me to testify against you and blah 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 blah. And they could have figured it out. They could have done some legal bullshit. He's the fucking mayor. They could have done some legal bullshit. They could have done some Arrow bullshit. Just something from either side that they have power on. They could have done something to figure
Yeah, I
it
mean,
out.
at this point, there's no excuse for it. This is
But
really
instead,
dumb.
yeah, but instead Renee doesn't go tell Arrow that they have this stuff on him and that, that they have this condition for him or this offer for him. You know, Oliver doesn't try and resolve things with his team. He just immediately jumps to let's spy on them and treat them
Yeah,
and
because
treat
the
them like
NSA did
enemies.
that yeah, because the NSA does that in real life and it works out for them splendidly too.
Right, and even just in the Arrow, they've done shit like this before and it didn't work out. It's ended up the same exact way before of why couldn't you trust me enough to talk to me? Why did you have to spy on me? Why are you looking into my private life and not just talking to me about it like normal people? And they don't learn this lesson. Every single season they have to grow into a situation like this where they just repeat the same mistakes and it ends up exactly the same every time. And this time the team is like, no, we can't trust you anymore to work with you because you did this to us. And then they defect and they leave.
Which is completely reasonable. Like if they didn't do it, I would have been really annoyed. I mean, like this,
Yeah, at least there was good, at least this time there also was consequence for Oliver's actions where what he did drove the newbies of the team, like Mr. Terrific, the new black, the new
Canary.
black canary.
Dinah,
Drake.
Curtis, and Renee.
Yeah, Dinah, Curtis, and Renee. I forgot her name for a second there, lol. So yeah, it drove Dinah, Curtis, and Renee out of the team because they couldn't trust them anymore because they were spying on them, and they were only spying on them. They didn't think it was Felicity or Diggle, which it also could have been because we also had no idea who the hell it was because they didn't give us any information. Could have been any of them, and they decided to spy on the newbies, and make them not trust them anymore. So now they're defecting off into their own vigilante team. The original three are in their own vigilante team again, and conveniently, so we were talking about who's the big baddest for the season. Everyone's the big bad. Oprah came on
Yeah,
Arrow and was like,
but-
"You're a big bad. You're a big bad. You're a big bad."
Ay,
It's like, who is it?
well,
They're all teaming up. Even Vigilante. So Vigilante, Caden James, Ricardo Diaz, Black Canary, like Laura Lance from Earth 2, Black Canary.
Black
Oh,
Siren.
sorry, yeah, Black Siren. Yeah. So all those four people with a couple of henchmen who were standing there for some reason, they're all teaming up together, and they're all the villains of this season, which is pretty cool. I just hope they don't focus on one of them too much, and then take away from the other ones. Like, Vigilante's gonna have a side story with Dinah. Laurel Lance, Black Siren. We saw her this episode give. She was supposed to kill Quentin Lance, like the
Yeah,
doppelganger of her dad.
that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that makes this episode interesting is the fact that, quote unquote, there may be potential for Laurel to not be evil.
Right.
But again, I have no idea how much credence this is lent when you have her teaming up with the bad guys. Anyways, like I have no idea how sincere that is.
Well, she still has to play her role on the team, but you can see that there is room for a redemption arc for her this season that doesn't have to do with Oliver like people thought, but it has everything to do with the doppelganger of her dad, because this episode we figure out what happened to Earth 2 Quentin Lance, that he died when he was going out to get her a cake for her birthday, at a very young age.
And Quentin was able to recognize exactly what kind of cake it was, which
What do you
probably
mean?
helped.
What do you
He
mean?
knew exactly what cake Laura loved the most, and
Oh,
it helped with her memory.
Right, and right, I remember that now. And then what was ironic is that he got killed by a drunk driver, because we know that Earth 1 Quentin Lance is an alcoholic. So it was kind of like that whole sub arc of him also coming full circle of like, oh shit, like Earth 2 version of me got killed by someone who is like me on this Earth, or like how I used to be for him. And then I feel like her sharing that kind of moment with him kind of made her realize that, like even though this isn't her dad, he's still he's still kind of like her dad, because he's like him in every single way. Like, I mentioned conveniently, all the other Earths are completely different, yet the people are pretty much the same. Whatever.
Somehow.
Somehow. But, like he's pretty much just like her how her actual father was, and she kind of like realizes that she does have a connection with him, and she saves him by the end of the episode. She spares his life, tells him to run away instead of killing him when they get cornered. Um, so I feel like that's gonna spark a redemption arc for them, and that's gonna help the team against the villains, because I feel like they're outmatched right now, um, severely outclassed and outmatched. But they are going to be getting
Yeah,
help.
but she has a lot to make up for. Let's be real.
That's true. I'm not saying that she'll, it'll be like a one thing that she'll do and they'll accept her and everything will be handy dandy and really good. Like, no, they're
No,
gonna,
no, definitely not.
she's gonna have to go through her own like proving grounds and make sure that that she is actually good and on the good side. Maybe it'd be like a
Mhm.
Deathstroke type situation where like she does do her like redemption and then pretends to betray the heroes to only then
Mhm.
betray the villains, kind of like Deathstroke did at the end of last season. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do something along those lines, because that would be kind of cool if they did, like a good use of her. I just want her to be used as like a character more, like more of like just a good character that adds to the story and like adds to the has more development instead of just being an evil killer, and actually have this redemption arc with Quentin, because that would be good for him as a character and for her too, and just kind of to reconcile with the fans for just killing off actual Laura Lance all those years ago in season 4. Um,
Yeah, and one thing I also have to complain about this episode is that we still don't know much of what's going on. We have no idea what Kate James is trying to do, why he's trying to do. I mean, like, I know he's trying to get rid of Team Arrow in the most ridiculous scheme that could be concocted ever since Helmut Zemo from Civil War.
oh my
In the
god,
most like,
the most
in the most
complicated way.
most complicated way that somehow still is pulled off.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's like, and the thing is, there's still no indication of why. Like he said something about his son, and we don't even get any of that. We
yeah
just get
something
him
about
acting like a twat,
yeah.
which is not something, and it's not a point in his favor.
Right, he said something about Team Arrow, or specifically Green Arrow himself, being responsible for killing his son. So we're gonna have to see what the hell he's even talking about, because I don't remember anything about Caden James's relatives getting killed, unless it was just some random Helix person that they killed by accident last season or something like that.
Yeah, but his son is how old exactly?
Exactly, like we don't know how old the son is. I don't even know how old he is. Like there's no indication, because the actor looks old, but I don't know if he's meant to be an old character. Um, and it's just all these unknown factors that we don't have answers to right now, which is different from the other shows, because we pretty much know what's going on in the other shows to an extent. Like we still don't know too much about Mollis, but we at least got to interact with him and see his dark dimension thing. We got a lot of story with the Thinker. We got a lot of story with Rain. But in this one, we just got an Avengers lineup for the villains at the end of it, and
Yeah,
that's
more
it.
like the Revengers, you could say.
The Revengers. The Injustice League. Maybe they're doing that little version.
That's clever.
Um, but we'll just have to wait. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the plan is. Because as far as just getting revenge for killing Caden James' son, like what do the other villains have to do with that? Like,
Mhm.
of course we'll have. So we'll have the Vigilante, his story with Dinah. We'll have Ricardo Diaz, his story with Diggle, because he was a drug supplier. Caden James with Felicity. Laura
Kaden
Lang.
James of Felicity?
Well, they have the cyber rivalry. I'm talking about like whose story benefits who the most and who develops whose story. Like people who have their stories kind of tied together. Um,
Yeah.
so you can have like Caden James and Felicity, because originally like Felicity did help free him, and she's kind of like the only person who can stand like toe to toe with him when it comes to like their cyber battles. And then
Yeah.
yeah, so it's gonna be like a team. I mean, it's gonna have
So
to be
who's
a
up
team
against
effort.
Oliver?
No idea. It's gonna have to be like a team thing that they do this time. Maybe they recruit Jason, and Deathstroke comes
Jason?
back into it. Deathstroke's son.
Oh.
Maybe they recruit him and he gets back into the season, and they bring back Deathstroke to help somehow. I don't know. I'm just pulling stuff out of my ass at this point, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see what they do with these villains for the rest of the season. Hopefully, they figure out a way to give them all their own moment to shine and make them all seem useful on their team, not just someone there for the sake of being there. Um, but yeah, do you have anything else to add to the discussion of this show or any of
Well,
the other
there's nothing
shows?
much to add. There was nothing much to add. Arrow was a disappointment, basically.
Right. So hopefully when they bring it back, it's better. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the Titans show. I'm excited for Black Lightning, even though it's messing up the schedule for Legends. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with
I
it.
won't watch any of them unless I have 100% guarantee that they're part of the Arrowverse.
I feel like we covered all the major points. Hopefully we find out more when the seasons come back. Uh, if you guys like this, obviously please give us a thumbs up. If you disliked it, thumbs down. We'd like to get some feedback from you, and obviously leave a comment below on what you think of the mid-season finales. Which one was your favorite? How do you feel about the shows going forward? And any of the shows. If you watch all of them, let us know. But all of them, if you only watch one, let us know. But yeah, how do you feel about them going forward? How did you feel about the mid-season finales?
Frankly, if you don't watch all of them, then you're missing out.
Yeah,
Even
especially
though we do complain a lot about how some of them can be shitty, you're still missing.
yeah, they're all pretty consistently good this season, even with their down parts, even like with like the downsides, they're all pretty consistently good for the most part. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments below, and we'll see you guys when the shows get back. So we'll try and upload some videos from now until the seasons come back, that if we have any news to talk about or any theories that come up that we want to discuss, we'll do that. But otherwise, we'll see you guys when the shows come back on the air in January. We're pumped. We hope you guys are excited too. Thank you all for getting this far in the video. We appreciate it. This has been Zal from Geek Paradise Entertainment.
And this has been Bashar. Happy holidays to you all.
Yep, happy holidays. See you guys next time. Peace out.
Peace.